All right, everybody. Yeah, I just started just a couple of minutes early. No big deal. How's everybody doing? Just getting everything ready. I know it takes a few minutes for people to get in. Looks like the stream is doing good. Okay, it takes a couple of minutes for people to realize that I am streaming. Let's take that off. Get the glare out of my eyes from the sunlight. Actually, it's a lamp that I got going that I normally use to paint by. But when I look up at the monitor, the light gets in my eyes. But when I'm looking down like this, it's no big deal. I don't need a brim when I'm looking down. Okay, I got some news. I got some tidbits. I want to talk about my rules. I want to talk about. I've got Soldiers of Napoleon and Black Powder up here. I'm gonna pull these down and kind of compare a little bit. I've got the Black Powder rules mainly just to refresh my memory, and then I've got the Soldiers of Napoleon up here because there's a couple of chapters in here I haven't even read yet, or I kind of like skimmed through, but I didn't really read them, and I'm going to read them today on stream because it's going to help me determine a little bit about my melee rules. Okay, you gotta have close combat rules, but we'll get into that in a minute. I had a hair growing out of my, not inside the ear, but like right there on the, what would you call that? The caldera? I don't know what you would call that. But there was like a little fuzzy hair that was like bothering me, so I just plucked it. Okay. You don't care about that. Okay, so what you see here on the screen right now, there are eight Ottoman Turk mercenaries right here. These are Napoleonic figures, but these are not figures that I would normally paint. This is not I don't mind painting these. You know, I don't have anything against them. I just normally don't venture into that period or that era. These are Spanish guerrillas or irregular militia, you know, and these are the Ottoman Turk mercenaries, and these are all in 18 millimeter. I have a customer that plays in 18 millimeter. He sends me packages, and in those packages are miniatures that he wants me to paint. Okay, so far so good. I normally charge $5 per miniature to paint figure-wise, infantry-wise, and cavalry I charge $8. These are really, what's the word? They're easy to paint, but they are more time consuming than a unit because they're militia and the guerrillas didn't really wear a uniform. Everybody's different, and so it's time consuming. I mean, I don't know if you can see all these paints over here, but I go through like one brown on this guy and a different brown on this guy and another brown on this guy, and then I got to paint his shirt and his pants a separate color, and I've randomized it. You know, I've got reds and purples and beige and yellows and blues and dark grays and like 15 different browns. It's just taking me forever to paint these guys. They're not super hard. It's not like it's complicated or anything. It's just time consuming. That's really all it is. Okay, so I don't regret, saying $5 per figure. But I do. It should have been more. Not because it's harder, but just because of the time. But I'm going to honor my $5 commitment to this customer because that's what I quoted him. So that's what I'm going to charge him, and then $8 for the cavalry as well. And there's 8, but there's also one guy over here. He's like dressed in a French uniform because but that's a different story altogether. Okay, I didn't mean to have these on camera. Okay, so I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna shuffle them off camera, mainly just to get them out of the way, to give me a place to put books down and stuff like that. You know what I mean? All right, I know you do. And that might give some time for more people to show up. I don't have my chat in the same window. I just realized I have it reversed. I've got my stream on this window, the one I'm looking at with the camera right here, right below that, because it's webcam, it's on the monitor. This is my broadcasting software. In the center monitor, I have my rule book and my miniature progress that I'll show you here in just a minute. And then over there is actually the stream where the chat is located. Yes, I do have 3 monitors. I considered a 4th monitor. Can you believe that? Okay, yeah. Looks like I'm going to be able to move these over onto my box over here. That's nice. I considered a 4th monitor just for chats. I don't know. I thought about putting it up high or off to the side or something like that, but I'm not going to do it because currently I have a shelf above my monitors, one of those, and half my paint is up there and some medicine and some other junk is up there. Oh, it's a flock. But I might move that and then move that paint over here, and then I'll have more of a consolidated paint area. I'm thinking out loud. Sorry. All right. Okay. Let's get into the news. The news of the day. Okay, first of all, this is Wargaming Weekly. We're going to be doing it for the near future. We're going to be doing it on Mondays. Next semester, if my wife's day to go in to work changes, then the Wargaming Weekly day will change. But right now it's on Mondays going forward. Okay, so that's really the window of opportunity for me to do this is during the time that she is at work. I feel it's just better to have less activities in the house, less cooking, less walking back and forth, doing laundry or whatever, vacuuming. I think it prevents any kind of distraction for me, Okay, so her battery in her car died. We had to buy a new battery. Well, actually it died. We jumped it. It looked like it had a good charge because I've got a multimeter. It looked like it had a good charge, but after a couple of days it died again. So we went ahead and just bought a new battery, put that in. Okay. So that was fun. Did 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't remember how long it took. I have fixed a battery terminal in the van, but I only had to fix. I ordered a set which comes with 2 terminals, and I fixed one of them, so I had an extra terminal. And I thought about it's the clamp that goes on top of the battery terminal. I thought about replacing the one that's on the car now, but it's actually, I would have had to do some cutting, and I didn't want to do that. So she still has her original battery clamp on that. Okay, not Wargaming. All right. Actually, kind of is, because remember that NashCon is coming up. NashCon is coming up on the 19th of August. Okay, so that's less than a month away. It's the 25th today. So the 19th is a Friday. Just recently, I went to their website, and they have a tentative list of all the games that are going to be hosted, what times, what day, what table, all that stuff. And lo and behold, my Lafayette Bridge is in that PDF. It's on that. So anybody going to the website, excuse me, that's going to the NashCon convention can currently see all the games scheduled. Mine is on session 3, because 1 and 2 is on Friday, and then 3, 4, and 5 is on Saturday. And so session 3, which is 9 a.m., Lafayette Bridge. Yeah, so it's on there. The write-up I typed up and everything is on their little blue. I'm sure he just copied and pasted. So that's good. That's good news. That means people are going to, if they see that on there, they might get excited and want to come play. It might be a destination, like, oh, look at that, Lafayette Bridge, battle group. All right, sweet, let's go. 15 millimeter. Okay, so that's that. Luckily, I've got everything ready for the Lafayette Bridge battle. I got the tiles built. I got the trees and the bocage and the hedges and the buildings, the roads. I've got all the miniatures based and good to go, and I got more than one tank. I only need one in the game, but I got a tank, and it's a cheat sheet card. What I want to do between now and then is make some, maybe not little cards, but maybe bigger, maybe 5x8s, maybe, of stat cards of what an infantry platoon, like its weapon ranges and any command elements or whatever, organizational something or other, just so that I can hand one to each of the 3 players per side, and they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, this is what I've got. This is my ranges. These are the dice I roll. This is my morale. This is my whatever, right? So I want to do that just to make it quicker for the players to grasp what they have, especially for players that don't already have it. But I could probably do that at the convention, or whatever. But I want to do it ahead of time. I want to print it out and make it look nice. Okay, so that's NashCon. I already have a hotel room scheduled, paid for. My wife actually bought that for me for Christmas, right? She knew that I'm a freak, and so she went ahead and prepaid for my hotel room at NashCon. That's one, I feel like Conrad Werner, if you know who that is, where it's a Mass Effect character where his wife pays for his ticket off world. Mainly, go, shoo. So maybe that's her way of getting the weekend for herself here at the house. But that's okay. Whatever. Okay, more news. We'll get into my Napoleonic rules here in just a minute. I got notified. I got a notification or an email from Wargames Atlantic. If you guys are familiar with Wargames Atlantic, they make 28 millimeter miniatures, plastic models, right? for a variety of different eras. Okay, they have some ancients, Dark Ages. They got some Romans and some Goth and some Celtic, I think. And then they've got, going forward, they have some World War One. They got Napoleonic. They got World War II. They got sci-fi, and they have fantasy. So they've got a wide selection of miniature, or let me rephrase that. They have a wide selections of genres, right? But only like 1 or 2 or 3 different boxes per genre. So they don't have any complete lines, but they've got a lot of good models. They're just spread out, which I'm okay with that. Speaking of which, they have a set called the Prussian Reserve. Okay, I did an open box. What's in the box? 60 models in the box, right? 60 models for about $35. Okay, but there's no command in that box. So what I did was, knowing that there's 60 of them, I figured if I get 3 command packs from any company, I could take those command, combine them with the 60 figures in that box, and make 3 reserve battalions. So I ordered from Gripping Beast, I ordered their front rank Prussian Reserve command. Got those in, had them in for a couple of weeks now. And the other night, maybe it wasn't last night, but it might have been the night before, I thought about it. I was not dreaming about it, but while I was laying in bed, I thought about it. And when I woke up, I said, you know what? I'm just going to pull that box off of my store, and I'm going to grab those command figures, and we're going to go ahead and just paint them up, right? I'm gonna paint up 3 battalions of Prussian Reserve and put them up on the store. I said, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. And I said, okay, that's what we're gonna do immediately after I do this commission, right? I'm gonna do this commission, then I'm gonna jump on those and knock it out, and it'll take me a week or so, and we'll get those 3 battalions up on the website. The very first thing I did was I went to the website, which is eBay, by the way. I go to eBay, and I was going to go to that box that I have posted for sale on there, and I was going to end the sale and say it's unavailable, because I was going to basically take it. And before I could do that, I opened up eBay, and it was already sold. It wasn't sold the night I went to bed, but when I woke up, it was sold. So I think I'm psychic, because I knew. I mean, what it was like something in the back of my mind was telling me, okay, you need to pull that, you need to paint them, you need to put it out. And then as soon as I open up eBay, I see it right there, sold. Which is, it's good, but so I sent them out, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, I was going to paint those. Okay, no problem. So I said, okay, I just need to reorder them. But now that I got an email from Wargames Atlantic, they actually are offering me a partnership so that I can, they have like a minimum order and free shipping if you go over this minimum order. It's not a minimum. I can order $1 worth of stuff, but I just wouldn't get free shipping. If I go over their minimum, which is not unreasonable. It's from what I can tell, it's a very reasonable minimum order. more so than Victrix. Victrix has an unreasonable minimum order. And, but Wargames Atlantic has a reasonable minimum order. And if I meet that, then I get free shipping. And the terms are great. So I sent him an email back saying, tell me what I need to do. Because I got an account on the website. Is there a code? Do I just put it in and then order on the website or what? I don't know. So I'm waiting. But as soon as I get that back and we get that set up, I'll reorder those Prussians. So that I can, because now I've got the front rank command stands in and no Prussians to attach them to. So that's something. Okay, so look forward to maybe getting a more complete line of their historical miniatures and their fantasy miniatures. I'm not really that interested in their sci-fi miniatures. Their sci-fi miniatures are, if you can think, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They're beautiful models. But think of it like this. Think of it like Napoleonic figures with laser rifles. Because you have like the old guard with power armor. Or you have, you know, British with, I don't know, carbines or laser rifles. I don't know. It just doesn't. The Germans have like gas masks and spiky helmets, and I don't know. It just seems very dystopian or whatever. I'm not sure if I want to get. I think the name of that genre or whatever you want to call it is called the Dying Fields or Death Fields or something like that. And I'm just not into that. And I don't like painting stuff that I personally am not into. But they've got like halflings and lizardmen and spiders and skeletons. I'm going to definitely get the skeletons because I'm big into the undead miniature gaming models. And so I'm going to get some of those in. But they also have World War II, like they've got Panzer Lehr, a box of Panzer Lehr models. I'm going to have to get those. And then they have Napoleonics. They've got the 95th Rifles and the Prussians. Not like I said, not a huge... Oh, and Ancients. They got some Romans and some Celtic guys. Those are the ones I'm going to get. I'm not going to get the strange or figures that I personally don't want to carry. Plus, it'll keep me from spending too much money too. Okay, so I'm looking forward to Wargames Atlantic, getting more of them in. I've got a few boxes of them in, but those were acquired kind of, not by mistake, but kind of as filler. You know, like I would order like a huge amount of X, and then I said, well, I only need like $30 more, so let's add a Wargames Atlantic box, you know, just to see what they're like. And but now, being a partner, I should be able to get like multiples of them and not worry if I sell a Prussian Reserve box, I'll have a second one, or I'll start painting them and stuff. I don't know. Chai tea, chai spice, something. I don't know what it is. It's from Stash. Got it on Amazon. It's good. It's actually really good. Okay, more news. Okay, rules changes. Okay, let me see if I can. I'm going to bring this up real quick, and we're just going to go over it in quickness. If you follow my Napoleonic project updates, not only do I talk about my rule, basically I reiterate what I talk about today. It's just that we work through it on the stream. Plus, you can chat and comment to me and, you know, say hello or whatever. But if you watch this, you would know a lot of this already. But if you look over here, you can see upper left-hand corner, the 2nd Light Regiment. There are 4 battalions. If it's colored in blue, that means they are fully painted, based, primed. I mean, not primed, based, flocked, ready to go. There are units that are finished. Same thing with the red. So it's just French and British. The yellow was just something for me to see if I had the flags for those battalions. I do. I've got a flag for almost everything except for a couple of cab units down here. But I didn't have a flag for the 4th Battalion. It's supposed to be a blue fanion, which basically only the 1st Battalion in the regiment carries the regimental eagle and the regimental flag. The other battalions carry a guidon pole with a spear tip and a fanion, right? And so I snipped and crimped and I made guidon poles, and I have the fanions for the 2nd and 3rd battalions, just not the 4th battalion. And if you look, it's the only regiment in Quatre Bras. I didn't check Waterloo, but it's the only battalion in Quatre Bras that needed a 4th battalion. And so I needed a blue, and I considered ordering it through Fighting 15. But since I already had every other flag that I need, I didn't want to commit to ordering just a whole sheet of flags just to get that one blue flag. So I set my mind to work, and I made my own. I took a white flag, which is 2nd Battalion. 2nd Battalion is a white fanion, and then I painted it with a thinned down blue, and I put 2 coats on it. It looks awesome. The GMB lettering that is already on the white flag shines through the thinned out blue paint. And I could have used a blue ink if I had blue ink. I think an ink would have been probably as good. I could have thinned an ink out as well, but I had paint and I have Liquitex, so I thinned it out, painted it. It looks great. So now that's one stress that's off my plate. I'm not worrying about the blue flag. So they are completely done. I will do blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then so you'll see that I've got 4 line infantry 1st battalions done. Those all have the eagle and the regimental flag. And then I've got the entire 2nd Light finished, right? Okay, great. Now when you jump over to the Allied side, I had this entire brigade finished, except for the officer and the artillery, but I have these 4 battalions are finished. And then the Nassau, I've got these 4 finished, and these are large, right? So I got excited about that. Got these 2 Brunswick Cav, and then I've got these 3 Highlanders finished. So I actually have a lot more finished than I thought. I'm painting these battalions about twice as fast as I was painting my 28 millimeters. I'm painting 4 battalions. I could, if I push myself, I can paint 4 battalions in less than a week. And that's pretty good, I think. So I could, if I really wanted to push it, I could probably get ready for a nice Napoleonic battle for this NashCon. but I'm not going to stress about it. I'm going to get some Napoleonics done over time. I'm going to make sure I have it done by maybe the end of the year. That way I can get to playtesting my rules and then have it pretty much locked in by next NashCon. Okay. Okay, so those are the figs that I finished. Let's go with an Alt Tab and there. Okay. Changing the name again of my rule. I was going to call it, I don't know what it was. My initial thought was turnbacks and plumes, right? That was just an initial, maybe what I'll call it. I had no real, that wasn't really a locked in. I just put that in there as a placeholder. And then I said, okay, I don't want to call it that. I want to call it something like musketeer or grenadier or something like that. So I started with maybe sash and sword or something, right? I don't know. I just wanted it a little bit more simpler. I don't know if that's a word, but so I decided to call it Fusilier, right? Just one word, Fusilier, because every army in the Napoleonic period had Fusiliers. A lot of them had musketeers. But I figured if I called it musketeer, people would think of the Three Musketeers, and I don't want that. So Fusilier might have been good. But then after a little research, I found there was like this 1980s game out there called Fusilier. It was a board game, and I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. So I decided not. I mean, it's an old game. It's probably not in production, probably not even being sold. Okay, sorry, had a cough. So with it, but it was still out there, and I could Google it and I could find it. So I said, no, we're not going to call it Fusilier. So what am I going to call it? So I thought about calling it a general, like I wanted to focus on the command element of the game, or the high level command. When putting these figures together, and I'll show you these figures here in a minute, it kind of clicked to me that I could name it after a general, right? As you can see, these aren't primed or anything. These are just in 2 boxes, and I'll show you what's going on here. So I was thinking, what does Napoleon, or what does Napoleon call his generals? And there is General D Brigade, General D Division, General D Armée, there's basically General D whatever, and then there's Marshal of the Empire, Marshal of the Army, and et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of different titles, and so I said, you know what kind of really fits with my rules? I'm thinking core level, right? My game is designed to be played as a player at the core level. If you have multiple cores on the table, you would have multiple players on the table. Yes, they could play a division if you want to break up your core, but I want to make it, I'm writing my rules so that it would be comfortable for one player to play a core. So like, I'm just going to use this as an example, Quatre Bras, right? You've got a core on each side with multiple divisions. And I want that game to be able to be played by one player per side. If multiple players are playing and you want to split up your divisions, that's up to you. But something like Waterloo, where you have multiple cores, needs to be played, or I want to be played by multiple players. I don't want it to be a one player versus one player Waterloo. you could play it that way. My rules are going to allow that, of course, you know, but it's really core level. So a player is a core commander. He's not a division commander. He's not a battalion commander. He's not a platoon or a company commander. He's not the sergeant, right? He's the core commander. So what would he be called? Well, he could be called anything. He could be called General de Division in a core position, or he could even be a Marshal of the Army in a core position, or he could be General de Corps, right? Okay, so I started thinking about it. And my mind was playing tricks on me because I know for a fact that there's already rules out there, and they're fairly popular, called General de Brigade and General de Armée, right? And I didn't want to step on those guys' toes. You know, I said, man, those guys were brilliant, because that's a good name for rules. It's not, I don't like the rules per se very much. I think I have good ideas, but I love their choice of names. So I said, okay, how can I get that message across to my players without it being in their face? And I thought about it. I said, you know what? Marshals and generals, because that's who the players are. They're marshals. Because what if you're playing a British general? You're not a general de brigade. You're a lieutenant general or a major general or whatever. So actually be a lieutenant general, right? Because it's be my little general, right? So it's brigade, major, lieutenant, general, right? So brigadier generals, guess what? For a brigade, you know. So it would be, actually be my major general would be for a division, and then little general would be for lieutenant general would be for corps. But I don't want to call it lieutenant general. That doesn't sound good. So marshals and generals, M&G, right? Or MAG. So that's what I'm going to call it. And then I've got like a little subtitle called A Core Napoleonic Rules. So this is a joke, really. Instead of CORE to make it like the core rules, it's the corpse rules, you know, the core rules. And it works. So that's what I'm going to call it. Marshals and Generals, A Core Napoleonic Rules. Great. Okay, so I know that was a lot for just a little bit. In my rules, since last week, I've already had some changes in my head, and I spent some hours retyping some things and remodifying. And we're going to go over those here in just a minute. I'm going to turn this off just temporarily because I want to show these real quick. And then I can get these out of the way and I can pull the other things out. Okay, so this is the Duke of Wellington, right? And you can see, okay, this is my French box, but this is my Allied box. The Duke of Wellington, these are 15mm models, of course, because that's what my rule set is designed for. And you can see this is a 60mm circle, right? 60 is just over 2 inches, but it's not 3 inches. It's about 2.5 inches. Okay, it's 60. I felt that 60 was enough, and I put 4 figures on his base. Okay, and there's the Wellington model. Okay, but that's the Duke of Wellington. And there's a 50mm base with only 3 figures. This would be, who would this be at Quatre Bras? The Prince of Orange. Okay. We knew that. I can already see that's the Duke of Brunswick, right? And I have him on a 40 millimeter base being a division general, right? So there's the Duke of Brunswick. And then we have Lieutenant General Baron Heinrich George de Perponcher Selinski, right? Or Sedlinski, right? He is the Cav, no, Perponcher? Wait. No, Perponcher is the second Netherlands division general. Then Lieutenant General Charles Count Alten, right? So it's Alten. He's, what is he? 3rd Division Allied? I think that's right. 3rd British Division. Sir Thomas Picton. Guess what? We got a guy here with an umbrella and a top hat. Okay, there's Picton. And then we have George Cook. Cook, I do believe, was the... Okay, Picton's 5th Division. I think it's 5th Division. I can't remember. And then Cook is 1st Division. Like, he would be the Guard Division. Right? Okay. And then these 30 millimeter bases are the brigade commanders. Right? And we've got Kempt, Kilmansegg, Blank, and I'll get into that in just a second. Halkett, Godecki, which is part of the, he's the Nassau contingent brigadier. Best, he's the Hanover Landwehr general. He's blank, and I'll get into that in a minute. Wait. Okay. Yeah, these two guys are blank. Pack, right? Bylant, he's part of the Netherlands. He's the Dutch Belgians. Bing is part of the Guards. Maitland, this guy's got, his first name is Peregrine. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know that. Peregrine Maitland. And then Merlin, which is the Cav commander of the Netherlands division. Okay, so there, okay, the Brunswick guys, that's this first group here. The Brunswick guys don't have brigade commanders because I needed 2 Brunswick hussars officers, and I don't have them. So that's something I'm gonna have to order in the future. But I'm gonna paint up these guys as just British brigadiers, right? They're gonna be generic for now, and then I can use them as the 2 brigadiers, Spec and what's the other guy's name? I don't remember. It's Spec and something else. Those guys are going to be the, I'm going to proxy them in as the Brunswick Brigadiers. And then I got a couple extra figures here. Like one of them is Uxbridge and another guy is, I don't know, Ponsonby or something like that. I decided not to use them. I only based up what I needed for Quatre Bras, right? So this is the British side, the Allied side, all based up, ready to go. I need to prime and paint these guys, obviously. Okay. And yeah, 60, 50, 40, and then 30 millimeter bases. Should make it, and it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 figures per base. So it should make it pretty easy to identify which ones are brigade commanders, which ones are division commanders, and which ones are the army overall commander or whatever. Okay, so that's the British. And then here's the Francais, right? The leader was not Napoleon, even though his base would look exactly like this with a Napoleon figure, but this actually has Ney and his escorting bodyguards or whatever, Marshal Michael Ney. They don't have, oh yes they do. They've got, see he's at, his rank is General de Division, but he's actually the Corps Commander, Charles Riel, or Riley as some people call him, Riel. And then General de Corps, d'Armée, Kellerman. So he's actually the right rank for a corps, where he's been upped from a division general to commanding a corps. Then we got Lefebvre, which is a guard division. Bachelot, which is, what is he, fifth division. Hertier, or Le Hertier, he's I think the heavy cab for Kellerman. Jerome Bonaparte is 6th Division. Pyre is for 2nd Cavalry Division. Look at his first name, Hippolyte. Okay, whatever. I've never even heard that before. I did some research, you see. And then Sebastian Foy is 9th Division. He's actually one of my favorite Napoleonic generals. I don't know why. He just is. He just seems like he kicks ass. Okay, we got Jammin. Who is Jammin? We got Bowden, Campy. Okay. Wathiez, I think, is a heavy brigade commander. Lallemande, I think, is the Lancer brigade, I think. That could be the Chasseurs, actually. Okay, Husson, Soy, Colbert, Chambonaz, I think, is part of Pyre. I'm okay. Hubert. Then there's Gauthier, which I think is also, I think he's the one's cuirassier and the other one's dragoons, I think. And then Gouton, and, or actually Gouton, I think, is over here. And then Piquet, or Pickett, right? General Pickett. No, it's not the Civil War. Yeah, so I've got all of theirs. So I'm excited about that. Now, just painting these generals is going to take a little bit of time, because I'm probably going to do all the French one week and then all the British the next. Or I might enter, well, probably all the French together and then split the British, the Belgians, the Brunswickers, and Nassau and all of them probably separately, mainly because of the different color schemes of their uniforms. But believe it or not, most of the generals on the Allied side, even if they're from a different nationality, they still wore the English uniform. It was kind of like they adopted it. Okay, so there's all the French. Okay, so I've got the generals ready to go. I was very happy that I had everybody except for the 2 Brunswickers, and I'll get over that. So here's the Black Powder 2nd edition and the Soldiers of Napoleon, and we're going to talk about both of these here in a minute. I want to basically crack this set of rules and kind of go over these rules, get a grasp of them, and then I want to compare them and then draw upon, make ideas and stuff for my own rules. Okay, so here's some things that have changed since last week, because this is kind of like a dev blog. Okay, I'm the developer of Marshals and Generals, and this is your insight to someone writing a miniature set of rules. It's going to be a journey. Have I written rules before? Yes. On this scale, no. They were very small rules. Very, very small rules. Okay, so let's skip the introduction. I basically have committed to doing a oh, wait, I got a map. Hold on. I have a map I want to show you guys. I don't know where I put it. It's probably here. Yes. And it's probably under 15mm Napoleonic maps. And I probably have it as a Quatre Bras. Nope, that's water. Okay, dual maps. Yep. I'm going to drag this over here. Boop. Hopefully, oh, you can't see squat. Okay. There, now you can. Okay, let's do this. Just so you get a little bit better picture. I could probably zoom in a little bit too. Boop, maybe that's too much. Okay. This is the Quatre Bras map. Okay, this is you can't necessarily tell, or maybe you can because you might be skilled. Let's go to layers. Okay, I've got a clean Quatre Bras map. I've got a Google map that I screenshot, and then I've got squares on, these are all on different layers. So I could like turn the squares off and then you would see that. Okay, so if I turn the clean map off, boop, there you go. This background map, I've got it as a little bit opaque. Okay, there we go. So I took the map, I did measurements on, because in Google Maps you can actually do measurements. I did 600 yard measurements, which at 50 yards per inch, a 12-inch square, which is what you see on the table, a 12 inches is 600 yards. So this being a modern map, right? It's not Napoleonic. This is an actual modern satellite picture, right? But the roads are, and you can see that this wood area here, the Bazou Woods, has been cleared. Like that's been just cut down and cleared. But this farm right here, this farm, Gemian Court, I think is what it's called, and the river that runs right here, right? This little river that runs up this way, and there's a bridge right there, and there is like the lake is right here, and there's kind of like this wooded, swampy looking area right here, and then this farm, and then the bridge would be right here because that's where the road crosses, right? So far, you're following me? and this crossroad, all of that in the last 200 years has not changed. Okay, so have they, like those dirt roads have been paved, the bridges probably have been rebuilt to spec or whatever, but they didn't redirect the river, they didn't reposition the lake or anything. Okay, so if I turn that map off and turn this map on, you can see the lake, you can see the Gemian court, you can see the little stream running through here, you can see the crossroads, you can see where the Bazoo Woods should be. Okay, so now if I turn them both on, and then I made this top one semi-transparent so that you could see underneath, and remember, from here to there is 6, it's a 4x6. I got a 4x6 table right here with 1 foot squares, right? So far so good, perfect. Let's make this semi-transparent, okay? And then you get to see how perfectly the map lines up. I did a little twist, but I got it to line up perfect. You can see where the crossroads and the farm down here, check that out. It's like perfect. The lake, right? The bridges, the river. It looks good. Yeah, I'm excited that now I've got a table that I could work with, right? I've got because I wanted to play a core on a 4x6, and if you wanted to play Waterloo, you would probably need a much bigger table, like maybe a 12-foot table or something, right? Okay, enough of that. Close that. I'm not going to save. No, wait. Cancel, close, don't save it because I don't want to mess with anything. So I've committed to 50 yards per inch. Okay. I've committed to approximately 1 company or squadron per stand. Okay. Oh, you just saw my generals, which were 1, 2, 3, or 4 figures based on the size of the base and all that good stuff. I pretty much settled on some ranges, muskets being 6 inches, rifles being 9 inches, and then cannons based on 6, 9, or 12 pounds, because those are really the only guns that are going to be used at Quatre Bras. I can always expand that later when I need to worry about like Russian 20-pounders or 8-pounders for earlier war stuff. But for right now, 6, 9, and 12 is all I'm focusing on. Then the move distance. Here's the big change. I had a separate move for infantry in line versus infantry in column. Not march column. March column is a completely different category. Like an attack column or a line. Instead of giving them more inches for an attack column, right? I've decided to go a different way. Instead of saying a line can move, I don't know what I got, 4 inches. Instead of an infantry line moving 4 inches and a column moving, let's say, 6 inches, instead of doing that, I've decided to say that both of those are considered deployed. So a line or an attack column, doesn't matter, they move 4 inches. Now, if they were in march column, they are much more speedy, right? I mean, you get a road march basically. You just single file DD Mal, right? They can just move. It just makes it a lot more easy to control them. So why? So here's my thought process. So what was my reasoning for giving them more move for an attack column? Well, they're tighter, they're more maneuverable, they're easier to control and command and keep everybody orderly, so they should be able to move further. Well, that's not yes, but that's not how I want to represent that. I don't want to represent it by giving them more movement. I want to represent it by allowing the battalions that are in attack column to do specific maneuvers that a line can't do. So it won't give them an advantage on distance move, because I think a man can move what a man can move. I don't think just by me standing shoulder to shoulder with the guy is going to make it different from me standing shoulder to shoulder with two guys, right? So I don't want to give them a boost in inches just because they're in a different formation, right? Okay. But I will say, leaning back on my whole idea of why I would bother giving them a faster move, is because it's more maneuverable and it's easier to maintain control. Okay. And there would be an advantage for morale because of the tight formation, right? Okay, that's the reason why. And this is, from what I've read, this is the reason why a lot of armies fought in line, so that they could get the firepower. But the French, they also had line, but when they marched in to do contact, to threaten their opponents, they would tighten their formations up and go into what's called an attack column, and they would move forward, and the guys in front might be a little bit hesitant, just like in a line or any other formation. They might be a little hesitant, but when you've got this mass of people behind you pushing you forward, it would be almost like a bonus to their attempt to to close the gap. So I'm going to give them a bonus to attempts to close the gap. Plus, I'm going to limit what a line can do while in a line. So like, as an example, echeloning, right? So there's an idea that you can move forward your 4 inches or whatever it is, and shift either right or left 1 base width, right? So when you move forward, you have to stay within that where you started, plus an extra base to the left or right. So that's your like wiggle room. Where with a line, I'm thinking I'm not going to allow a shift. They have to pretty much wheel and go straight, or just go straight, right? But a column, I'm going to allow them to echelon a little bit. I might allow an echelon with a line, but it'll be smaller than, or maybe allow a line only a base width, where I allow a column a 45-degree echelon, because there are some ideas that for every step forward they would take a step right, so it would be like they would be moving forward at a 45-degree angle. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that for the column. So the column will have advantages in moving and melee, but not in shooting, right? The line will definitely have the advantage over shooting. Okay. I'm going to allow lines to fire with every base, right? Well, first of all, most battalions are only going to have 6 bases, so they're going to be firing with all 6 bases. And remember, we're giving 1 die per base. And with a attack column, only the front rank can fire. So what does that tell me? Well, attack columns are 2 bases wide and then 3 or more ranks deep. Well, 2 or more ranks deep, or however we do it. So they would only get 2 dice. So it would be a difference between 6 dice and 2 dice. So it's a big penalty for shooting in an attack column where a line, well, I don't want it to appear that way. I want it to appear like being in a line, you get a huge plus to shoot. Okay, so that's my big change, is I'm not changing the inches. It's always going to be the same. I even think in nationality terms, a human is a human. So a human's going to move what a human moves. I don't like games that say one nationality can move 4 inches where another nationality can move 5 inches. Now, if they're specifically known for their speed of movement or their increased mobility or whatever, then I might give them a special rule in their unit roster that says they don't move the normal 4, they move 5, or something like that. But as a general rule, deployed infantry is going to move 4 inches. Okay. Now, I thought about, and here we go to the turn order. We'll get back to that in just a second, because I'm still talking about moving. Okay, commands and activations. This is a change. At one point, I thought I was going to take a battalion and roll a die, and that's how many guys you could activate, and then move them. I've since changed from that, thinking that if you're within the command radius of the brigade commander, whatever that might be, I haven't really decided on that, but I'm assuming somewhere around 6 inches. If you're within 6 inches of the brigade commander, you get to activate, right? And that brigade commander activates all of his battalions within 6 inches. Period. Right? Okay. Activation means you get to move. Okay, so this is going to be a big change on my command and activations. Instead of saying you get to move and fire, or let me rephrase that. Instead of saying I'm taking an activation and splitting it into 2 actions, right? And you can pick and choose what 2 actions you want to do. Like, do you want to move and fire? Or do you want to move and move? Or do you want to fire, then move? Or do you want to fire and fire? That would be 2 actions. Do you want to wheel, move, and then fire? Or do you want to do a formation change and fire to the side? Or do you want to shift 1 to the right or 1 to the left? And no. Okay, so all of that, I'm kind of, the activity is going to be the same, but instead of the main thing is I want there to be a double move possibility. That was my main thing. I want you to be able to move 8 inches. So if you have that 4-inch move, I want you to forego everything, like no shooting, and move 8 inches. I want that to be allowed. I want you to be able to move 4 inches and still be able to shoot. I want that. But I don't want shooting twice. Okay, I've thought about this, and I'll explain my reasoning here in a bit. But if you don't move, so basically what I'm saying is you get to shoot once. Everybody gets to shoot once, unless you move twice. If you move twice, you forfeit your shot. So far, that works great. But I want to give guys that stand still and not move a better shot. So instead of like a battalion with 6 stands, instead of rolling 6 dice and then another 6 dice for 12 dice, I don't want that. But if you decide not to move and shoot, I'm going to give you a bonus of 1 die. Okay, so that would apply to a column as well. So if you're in a column and you only normally shoot with 2 dice, well, now you're adding a 3rd die. So that's a big deal. But a line, let's say a large battalion that has 8 bases, he would normally be rolling 8 dice. He's only going to be able to roll 9 dice, which it's a small bump, right? I didn't want it to be so devastating with the 2 shots, because I considered only the front rank of a line firing as well. I considered only 3 dice coming out of a line, and then if you do it twice, you get your full 6. I considered that, but I was thinking it's just easier, just count all the dice, right? Just all 6, just do it. And then even if you move, you still get 6 dice. So you're getting a lot of dice if you get a normal sized battalion. Okay, so, and who doesn't like to roll a handful of dice? Everybody does, right? So, but I also put a limit on there where you can't roll less than 1 die, and you can't roll more than, here it is, right? This hasn't been changed. I haven't typed it up where it's a change. But like if you're within 6 inches of the enemy and you're using your muskets, you're probably not moving, right? You're probably just standing there blasting away. But if you got rifles, you got 9 inches, you might be blasting away. I don't know. So you roll your 6 dice or 7 dice. And then there's minus to the dice based on like if they're behind a wall or whatever. And so you can't ever get less than 1 die. So let's say I've got an attack column, 2 dice, and it shoots at a guy behind a wall, which is minus 2 dice. He would still be allowed to roll 1 die, right? But if he was stationary and he rolled 3 dice minus those 2 dice, he would still only roll 1 die, right? So being stationary wouldn't help him, right? Because I always want you to get that possibility. Why bother shooting if there's not going to be any possibility? So I want there to be possibilities. And situational modifiers are all going to be dice modifiers. They're going to be adding dice or subtracting dice. So stationary firing is getting an extra die. Not 2 dice or 3 dice, just 1 die. So now most people are not going to just stand there and shoot. But if you're behind a wall and you don't want to leave cover, I'm going to give you that chance to just stand there and shoot, and you'll only get that 1 die bonus. I don't want to make it so devastating. Mr. Everything, why? Why do you not want to roll 12 dice? Okay, well, here you go. Here's the next part of it. Not close combat, because we're going to read a little bit about that end turn. We're talking about morale. And morale and destroying a unit, which I'll put that in somewhere else. I'll type it up. I haven't typed that up. But it's pretty much, I've decided, I've backpedaled to allow the destruction of a unit when its bases are exceeded with hits. Okay, so let's say, okay, you can't really see any of that anyway. There we go. I could adjust that, but why not? I'm not going to be showing anything else on here. Give me a second. I'm going to fix this. Not really fixing anything. Just making it easier to read. All right. So instead of, this was the thought process last week, and you probably all heard me say, I like rally. I like the ability to bring a unit off the battlefield rallied, use a general, rally them, and send them back into the battle. I've had a week to think about this, and then I had to kick myself in the ass. I kicked myself in the butt. What is the main agenda or the main tenets for my rules? Fast, fun, and playable. Rallying and sending troops back into the game is not fast. I thought about it. I was like, it's fun for me. It would be playable because I'm going to make a set of rules that allows it to happen. But what does that do to the battle? First, it does many things that slow the game down. Multiple things. You might not think this, but if you really analyze it, you're keeping track of hits over the 6, right? You're keeping track of that instead of just pulling them off the table. So you're keeping track of that. You're having to mark him, showing that he's routed. Minor time constraint, but it is a time constraint. You have to measure and move him back. It takes time. Only a few seconds, but it's still time. The generals have to spend time either rolling dice, removing pips, allocating a number, something. The general has to do whatever is the rule to rally that unit back to a fighting condition. Then you have to move that unit back to the front. And then he'll get shot and eliminated or whatever. That whole process of eliminating them, routing them, marking them with hits, marking them with a route marker, moving them back, removing the route marker, removing pips or whatever the process is, rolling dice to see if you're successful, rolling dice to see how many pips are removed, reforming them, sending them back to the front. That all takes 5-10 minutes, whatever it takes throughout the entire game. You've got 20 units, broken, you have to rally them and send them back. I thought about it. What benefit towards the game, overall enjoyment of the game, the fun part of it, what benefit does a player get by doing all that? Well, he gets to know that his units basically get a second chance, and he gets to plug holes that would have opened with routed units, and it would allow him to play the game longer. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to do, is not do. I'm trying to shorten the length of play. I'm trying to make actions, or I'm trying to make contact with the enemy consequential. I want there to be losses. I want there to be a removal of units. One reason why, when a unit is not on the table, it's on the sideline, that means you're drawing a card towards your army morale, which puts you that much closer to losing the game. Plus, the player doesn't have to do all those things I talked about with his routed units. And if all the units are not routed, they're back to full force, or they're back to combat effectiveness, or whatever. He basically is playing 2 games in time, right? He's playing the game where he goes up and then he routes and then he goes up, right? So basically he gets to go up twice or more, however I want to do it. But I've decided I'm going to allow units just to be eliminated. I feel that's what they do in Soldiers of Napoleon, and that's where I was hesitant. I was like, why does he just eliminate the unit and not give him a chance to come back? Why isn't there a rally mechanism or a route mechanism or whatever? And I thought about it, and it means it'll speed the game up, because units will be leaving the battle, right? They'll be out of the game, and the players will not have to turn them around and push them back into the game. Now, black powder does something that makes it even worse, right? When your units rout, if you have enough units out of a brigade that rout, or even a division that routs, now that division or brigade cannot turn around and go back into the battle, even if you rally them. You can rally all you want, they can't go back, because now the brigade is shaken. And so what that means is the player has to take time out of his game to move those units in a backwards manner, or stand still and hold their ground. He can do that. I don't like that rule. I hate that rule, actually. That's one of the rules in black powder that really I don't like, because it penalizes the player in a way where it's worse than losing the unit. You lose the unit, okay, I lost the unit. I blow you up, you lose the unit. You blow me up, I lose a unit. Big deal, it works. But now, if you blow me up, now I have to be penalized in addition to not having any troops. Now I have to back my remaining troops up. I hate that. So I've decided not to do that system. I was kind of wanting to do the Napoleon's Battles system, where you can disorder a unit on the front line, but you can also rout them. And if you rout them, they run back, and the general can rally them. It doesn't remove any hits, so they're still possible to blow up, but now you send them back into the battle, and they can blow up or rout again. That works on a brigade level. But on a battalion level, I like the idea that once they've taken so many casualties, they pretty much say F you and they run. And they don't come back. Or they fall back to rally off the table. So they fall back far enough that they're not going to be able to participate in the battle any further. So I'm what's the word? Symbolizing or allowing the rallying to happen, just not in the time frame of the game. So like, yes, they routed, they fell back, they're off the table. Some army general back there is rallying them, grabbing stragglers and taking the rest of the day to get them back into a fighting, condition, but there's not going to be any time for them to come forward. So in a campaign game, they wouldn't be eliminated, right? They would just be at a reduced strength, or they would reconstitute their forces or whatever. But in the time frame of a tabletop game, they've been eliminated. I think it will speed things up. Don't have to worry about rallying. Don't have to worry about reconstituting them. Don't have to worry about sending them back to the front line. Don't have to do any of that. Once they get blown up, they get blown up. Deal with it. And that'll make life a lot easier. Okay. So then I thought, okay, so if they get, I thought about how many hits is it going to take to cause that to happen, right? Yeah, I can get rid of all this. Okay, I can close that. Okay, so how many hits would that cause that to happen? Well, in Napoleon's battles, and I'm drawing on this a lot of these different rule sets. In Black Powder, it is in general, it's 6 hits. 6 hits causes a rout, pretty much. Not exactly, but we'll go with that. 6 hits. In Soldiers of Napoleon, it's 1 more than the number of bases. So that's based on bigger units having more hits. Napoleon's battles uses a 2-number system, which, think of it like this, 3/5 as an example. So if the unit takes 3 hits in 1 turn, it becomes disordered. Where if it takes 5 hits in 1 turn, it routs. But in Napoleon's battles, it can rally and come back in. In Napoleon's battles, each stand represents a battalion. So you can imagine, and there's 4 figures on a stand. So if I do 5 hits, I can't do 6 hits. It doesn't allow you. Once you've reached their route number, you stop taking hits and you rout. Okay, so what did that effectively do? The 5 hits destroyed a battalion. Destroyed, right? Eliminated. Put 4 hits on it, pull the base off. Destroyed a battalion and put an extra hit on the brigade. And then they fell back and rallied. Okay. Where in my game, a battalion that gets 4 hits is going to be eliminated, right? Just like removing a stand from Napoleon's battles. Except it's not going to be 4 hits. It's going to be one more than their, I like the rule in Soldiers of Napoleon, one more than the size. Because Napoleon's battles, I'm leaning on this, the route number is one larger if it is a large brigade. So effectively, you would have been able to take 6 hits before your rout, still eliminating the battalion. What I could do, and this would lean on Napoleon's battles a little bit, if a battalion gets eliminated, the brigade might need to make the remainder of the brigade might need to make a test or fall back. I might do that. Not rout, not be eliminated, just maybe a 6-inch move backwards. Something simple like that. So it would still eliminate the battalion. You're out of here, buddy. Still have to draw the card. Okay, great. And now your battalion or your brigade, seeing one of your battalions get eliminated, freak out, and they may fall back. I think I might do that. Because what that is effectively doing is it's simulating the same thing Napoleon's battles does, is allows a brigade to take casualties, lose a stand, battalion, and fall back and rally. So this would make the fallback simple. I might make it further, might make it 12 inches or something, but I don't want to make it so complicated that they got to fall back, go forward, fall back, go forward. I don't want to do that. But a 6-inch pushback might be nice. Because then they would fall back under the withering fire of their opponent. I'll have to contemplate on that. I'm really liking that idea I've just come up with off the top of my head, comparing it to Napoleon's battles. But I'm not going to have any rally dice, no, none of that, to re-enter the battle. I am considering removing a number of hits with rally orders or so like if a battalion, when it's activated, decides not to do anything, just rally, maybe they can get a number of pips back. So you see you're wavering, you're getting a lot of hits, you bring it back. I think I'll do that. I don't have a problem with that. That way the players can kind of like pick and choose who they're going to rally and not rally. Maybe a battalion commander can only do that with one of his battalions. Brigade commander, battalion commander. Okay. I don't know. I haven't worked that out yet. But I think I like that. I don't want to do any of the routing. No routing and rallying routed units. Okay, so none of that. Maybe a pushback, maybe a withdrawal, that kind of thing. I'm okay with that. Okay, so numbers of hits. Here we go. I've decided to go with the same thing that Soldiers of Napoleon go with, one more than their stands. But how I get there is going to be different. First of all, I'm using D10s and they're using D6s, right? That's not that big of a deal. But if you look at one pip on a D6 is like 16%. It's more actually, but like 16%, where one pip on a D10 is only 10%, right? So 2 pips on a D6 is pretty close to 30%. That is 33%, right? So I think that's So a 1 pip change up or down is way too big of a, in my opinion, it's way too big of a percentage change. So they have shots going in at 4 plus, right? So a 4 plus is 50% of your die roll. You roll a die, 4, 5, and 6 are all 4s or better. And that the only thing that failed is 1, 2, and 3, 50%. I think a 50% shot is too big for your average soldier. So I think my average soldier is going to be, instead of a 6 or better on a D10, which is also 50%, is going to be a 7 or better. So that'll be a 40% chance to hit. And I think a 40% chance is pretty good with muskets. Okay? It's also telling me that I'm not, because I'm weighing these options. I might go equal to the stands. It just depends on how fast the battalions get eliminated with a 7 plus. I think it'll be fairly low, because if I'm rolling 6 dice and I need a 40% chance to hit, I'm only going to get, what's 6 times 4, right? I'm only going to get like 3 hits, right? Out of 6 dice. That's 50%. So I'm actually getting less than 3. I think it's 2.4. But still, let's just call it 3 hits on the average. 50% is exactly 3 hits. But remember, you can get more dice or you can get less dice. If you're bigger, you get more dice. If you're shooting a square, you get more dice. If you're shooting out of a building or into a building, you're subtracting dice. All kinds of things, right? Okay. So I thought about buildings. Shooting out of a building should subtract dice. Or I can do only a certain number of dice per side. That's the way Black Powder does it. You only get a certain number of dice. I think it's 2 dice out of each side, up to your maximum number of dice you get to roll. And same thing with a square. I haven't really figured out how I'm going to do those, but I think it's going to be a number of dice per side, not a minus to the dice for a whole battalion, because I don't want the entire battalion shooting out of one side of the building, like 6 bases, minus 1 die or minus 2 dice. You're getting 4 dice out of a building. I think that's too many. So I might do something like 2 dice out of each side, up to your maximum number of dice for that battalion. I think I might do that. But either way, I'm getting 3 hits. Now, with the size of the battalions in line, you're probably only shooting 1 battalion with 2 battalions. You're probably not getting 3, but well, you probably could if you lined your 1 battalion up exactly in front and then a battalion on each side with a 6-inch maximum range. You might actually get 3 battalions to hit. And that would be, in my opinion, that would be considered withering fire, because now you've got, he's shooting at me, and the guy in the front is shooting at me. But I think I want to limit it to, if you have somebody directly to your front, you have to shoot the guy directly to your front. The only time you're able to shoot at a guy to the angle like that is if you don't have some, like if I deploy 2 battalions and you bring up 3 battalions, they can't all opt to shoot that 1 battalion. The one on this side is going to have to shoot straight forward, but the one that's over here that's not facing off with another battalion can shoot him. But if you're all by yourself with one battalion, then yes, those 3 battalions could get you. And then that would be pretty deadly. But so most likely you're only going to get a maximum of 2 battalions shooting at you. And the odds tell me you're going to get about 5 hits from 2 battalions. If I select 7 or better. If I say 6 or better, 50%, now you could potentially get 6 hits from one shot, maybe more. And a battalion can only take 6, 7 hits before it's eliminated. Yes, you could roll good and you could get a bunch of hits. I mean, one battalion against one battalion of the same size rolls all hits, can't eliminate the unit. It would require a second battalion to also shoot at it, no matter what. So you will not. So even if I roll all 10s, you're only going to get 6 hits, unless he's in a square, or I guess that's really the only bonus that I'm going to give people, is if they're like in a square and you're shooting at a square. So there's probably, without getting shot at by 2 battalions, you're probably not going to be eliminated. And even with 2 battalions, the odds are you're not going to be eliminated. But you potentially could be eliminated. And I don't mind that. I don't mind that. And if the rounds are going to be somewhere around 20 minutes, that's so 3 turns an hour. I don't think I'm going to do, I don't know. That's kind of generally what I'm shooting at. But, and just because I roll 6 dice doesn't mean that 6 men are shooting 6 muskets one time, right? That's not what those 6 dice represent. They represent 20 minutes of a battalion shooting and reloading and shooting, and the guy on the back and then kneeling, and the guy behind him shooting and reloading, and and then the guy in the front standing and shooting and stepping forward and volley firing and just blowing them away. So it's not just, okay, now my turn's over. No, it's not that. It's boom, 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 boom. So there's going to be, and I don't want it to be so easy that it's only 50% or better, because I think, first of all, they're muskets. And second of all, you're firing at 300 yards with a musket. And the smoke from the first volley is still in the air, and the hills are not modeled, the dips and bushes and all that stuff is not modeled on the table. You got a flat blanket, right? So you don't see all of that, and you don't see the little bushes and hedges and all that stuff. But if you put a hedge on the table, you're representing a major terrain feature that would affect all units. And that's why you get a -1 die when shooting at a unit behind one of those features. I think uphill is going to be given a -1 die as well. So if you're shooting at somebody uphill, you get -1 die. If he's behind a fence, a fence, it's not going to stop a bullet. I get that. But it gives those guys that are behind the hedge a little morale boost to keep them from running. That's why you have -1 die. You're still killing the same number of guys. It's just that they think, all right, we're behind a fence. So it's not. That's what that means. Okay, so I think you got a pretty good idea of shooting, eliminating. Morale is going to be done by quality of the troops. Every troop on my roster, which I haven't started writing the rosters, but I will. That's probably one of the last things I do once I hash out the rules, because I don't want to write the rosters and then have to go back in and rewrite them. So once I start writing the rosters, I'm going to assign a morale value to each unit type, right? Every unit's going to have a morale value. Those morale values of every unit on the table is added together to get a army morale. When the army morale is reached by drawing these cards, then you lose. Right now I'm thinking 0 to 3 per card. And then throwing in a couple of random events in the cards so that you potentially could draw a card, and in, like you get a battalion destroyed, you draw a card, and instead of it giving you a 0 to 3, it gives you a random event, and that tells you that you have to play it. Now, I don't like rewarding. Okay, this is something that Battle Group does that it's interesting, but I don't like. I don't. It doesn't. I don't feel those rules when it comes to this. They're like, you shoot me, you destroy one of my units, I have to draw a chit. On that chit, it says out of ammo, let's say. I get to look at your guys, the guys that just blew me away, and make one of them out of ammo. So what just happened was I got a 0 and I penalized you for your success. And I see where that would balance the game. Like, it would make it more like, okay, I'm getting destroyed, but now you're out of ammo. I kind of see that, but I think it would be better or worse. It is that if I draw an out of ammo card, I have to immediately show my opponent, hey, I just drew an out of ammo, pick one of my units that are out of ammo. So you would kill a battalion, and then my artillery battery would be out of ammo. That might be a little too penalizing. So I don't know. It kind of goes both ways. I think by allowing me to get a 0, I lost a unit. That's penalty enough. But now my army doesn't suffer any morale penalty. Okay. And now you suffer from this drawback. So that's why I'm kind of leery about putting any special events. Now, I don't mind drawing a 0 because I think that's pretty cool. And I don't mind drawing a 3 because that's pretty harsh. People look at it like, oh my God, they blew that unit away. So that's what I'm working on. So those morale values, and I was thinking anywhere between 0 and 3 for the morale value of the units. So like if you've got a bunch of Grenadier Guards, they would all have 3s, so you'd have a small unit, but it still have a high morale value. That's because the Grenadiers are pretty much, rock hard. They're going to stay. Even if everybody dies, they're still going to be on the field. It's one of those. Where if you got a bunch of Landveer and they all contribute 0 to your army value, as soon as you draw one card, your game is over. You lost. So you got to have a mixed bag of army values. Well, that's if you were to design a game with points, but I'm not designing a point-based game. I'm designing a scenario-based game where you would pick and choose units that were actually at battles. So, but I also said, if you've got a morale value of 1, 2, or 3, or 0 even, that's how many cards you draw when that unit gets eliminated. So if you've got a guard, but that eliminates the reason to give them a high morale value, because now you're drawing 2 cards and making it even. So I probably won't do that. I'll probably do 1 card per unit, period, and then just not add Landwehr to that value and allow Grenadiers. But see, I want a Grenadier unit that gets eliminated to have a bigger impact on the battle, on the remaining units. They look over and they see that he's been eliminated. So there's that. And if a Landwehr gets eliminated, maybe not draw a card. So an all Landwehr unit would be okay because you'll never draw any cards. But I was thinking of every other unit. Every other Landwehr would still draw cards. So it's like at half value. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Okay, so before the day is over, I wanted to take a look at a couple of specific rules in here that I might be able to use. Well, there's charge and melee. So and there's the end phase. Okay, I already know that. Terrain. I wanted to see higher ranking generals. There's buildings, which, remember, I haven't read this entire thing yet. Building an army. Brigades, construction of a brigade. That's great. Yeah. I don't have to deal with that because command stands. Here we go. Brigade commanders. They have their own command stand. Have to be represented. Each brigade has its own. That's another thing. Orders. I've been thinking, I'm pretty much going to be doing, remember what I said, a brigade commander gives everybody within his 6 inches a command. He's not going to roll dice to see how many commands or whatever. I'm going to do the chain of command concept that Napoleon's Battles does, where you have your senior command. He's got a range as long as your division generals or your corps commander is within his range. Then he can reach out to his division generals, and they reach out to their brigade commanders, and then the brigade commander reaches out to his battalions. I'm going to do it like that. Okay. Now, in this game, he has something called Inspire, which means he gets to remove 1 point. And it gets to add 1 when rallying. Okay, so remove a point and add 1 when rallying. That's if you use Inspire, which means he has to attach to the battalion, which means he can only do it to 1 battalion. Okay, divisional command. We're moving up. This says it represents you on the battlefield. So this game is divisional. Okay. Next to the division command stand, place a number of command points. At the start of each battle, each division command has a number of command points. Okay, so at the start of the battle, which I'm okay with that. Every division general will have a different value based on his skill or quality. A divisional command stand, divisional command points. Okay, division command points Once he has been given orders to his brigade commanders and deployed his men, the divisional commander can only influence the battle in small ways, represented by command points. Each division commander starts the battle with D3. Okay. They represent rerolls. I like the reroll concept. I love that rule. And in this game, they're saying divisional commanders each have a reroll. I'm not sure about that. I would give, because I'm playing a core level game, I'm thinking the core commanders should have the rerolls. Okay, which is kind of like the same as this, just one level up. Okay, but it also has draw extra orders card. Okay, in this game, each brigade draws a card at the start of each turn, and then you play the cards to command battalions. This one says the division commander gets to just draw one on his own. At the start of the turn, divisional commander is drawing uses a command point to draw an extra card. One can be drawn by spending 1 point. Okay. I don't like it. I'm not going to do that. Because I'm not issuing commands that way. The rerolls is coming from on high. I don't think a divisional commander will have rerolls. I'm going to have to figure out why I have a division commander other than extending brigade movement range. Okay, senior officers. Above you, the division commander, there are 2 extra levels. There's Corps Commander and Army Commander. The Army Commander, like Napoleon. Okay. Corps Commander. The Corps Commander arrives on the... Count as an extra command stand when dealing action cards. The first time a Corps Commander arrives, increase the Army break point by 1. Okay. The Divisional Commander immediately gains... Okay, so these are guys that show up onto the table, but you're playing with a Divisional Commander. The Division Commander gains 1 command point. Okay, well this says the Corps Commander might move onto the table, but then he might actually leave the table. Okay, that's ridiculous. So you really don't even have anything to do with cores. Draws an extra command stand, +1. Breakpoint, yeah. When rolling, in each end phase after the first, roll to see if the Army Commander remains or if he's called away. Okay, so they don't even really consider the Corps and Army Commander as units on the table. They consider them to be events. The Corps Commander shows up on the table, gives your Division Commander some bonuses, and then leaves. Same thing with the Army Commander. He shows up on the battlefield, gives your Division Commander some bonus, and then leaves. And this Division Commander, he only exists to give you rerolls and orders. It's all about the brigade commanders, which I'm okay with that. Okay, so I'm not gonna do this. I don't like that. I'm gonna do a chain from army to corps to division to brigade. We've already figured that out. If the division general is out of command of the corps commander, the division, I'm going to do it a lot like Napoleon's battles. The division commander can make a leadership test, and if he passes it, then his brigade commanders can act, because it'll be like he took the initiative. But if there is a connection all the way to the army commander, then you don't have to make that leadership test. It's just automatic. The brigade commanders will not be allowed to make those command rolls. You're going to have at least a division general within your command range. So that's going to force you to have at least a division general. And the corps commander each corps commander is going to get the rerolls. Because this is a corps level game, the corps commander is the player. Remember, the player is the corps commander in my set. So he will get a number of rerolls. And I'm thinking, instead of, what I probably will do is a D3 per division under his command. So that means well, I don't like D3s using a D10. I'll figure it out. So it might be you get one per division, because you're going to get a 1 to 3. So you're going to get one per division plus a D5. So you probably could get 9 from a 4 division. That's probably not enough. I don't want there to be so many rerolls that the game becomes a reroll game. But I want there to be enough rerolls that every division will get some. Alright, each command point every division starts with D3 command points. As either rerolls or extra orders. Okay. I've been contemplating rerolls anyway, but I want there to be... This is like using Napoleon's battles as an example. I'm pulling from a lot of different games, but let's pull Napoleon's battles. Each battle is allocated a number of rerolls as the scenario dictates. It just says, this battle's got 7 rerolls. This battle has, or the French have 7 and the Russians have 12. So it basically just gives a bunch of rerolls, and I don't know what their formula is, which is fine. But I'm thinking just make it 2 per division as a thing. Every division gets 2, because a D3, the average is 2. I could do a D3, but then that would mean that like Real has 4 divisions. He could get 4, but he could get 12. And allow him to allocate them Now, a reroll doesn't allow you to reroll all 6 dice on your shot. It only allows you to reroll one of the dice. In Napoleon's battles, you only roll one die. So you're technically rerolling the entire shot when you reroll. Both sides roll a die, right? You got the defender rolls a die, and then the attacker has to exceed the defender's roll. So both sides could technically spend a reroll. So do I want to allow players to spend a reroll to force you to reroll a good roll? Maybe you'll get a bad roll. I think I would allow that if we're rerolling only one of the dice. So let's say I've got a 4 dice shot, and I roll a 2, a 4, an 8, and a 10, right? Well, I know the 8 and the 10 hit, and the 2 and the 4 miss, so I might spend 2 command points or 2 rerolls to reroll those other 2 dice, hoping to get all 4 hits. But then my opponent can spend on the 8 and the 10, hoping that I get less than a 7. So that would allow both sides to play a reroll. You can force them to reroll, or you can reroll one of your dice. 1 die. So 12 rerolls is really not that many. I'll have to think on that. I'll have to think on it. Okay, now we're going to go into melee. I know we're over time, but I kind of wanted to think about this. Okay, charge and melee. Okay. If there is no, like in Black Powder, there is a shooting, there is a melee, and then there is a results part of the turn. And in the results, you compare how many casualties they gave you and how many casualties you give them. And whoever did more wins the results. Support elements add to your results. Let's see how they do it. Because that has nothing to do with Napoleon's battles. They don't care about supporting elements. That's not really true. Because you could take a battalion and hit it with a cav and an infantry unit, and that would be one big battle. And remember, that's 2 brigades against 1 brigade, multiple battalions. Yeah, so let's see how they do it. And this is only a couple of pages, so we should be good here. Okay, the first thing is, in this set of rules, you don't automatically move to base contact. Napoleon's battles, you do. You just move up, you're in contact, you're good to go. In these, if you wish to connect, you have to make a morale check. Okay, maybe. Is there any more?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay, charge must be given in order, including a nominated target. That's obvious. Charge unit must then pass a discipline test. Okay, I'm okay with this because this will because some units will be hesitant to charge, like militia, where other units, like if you're in a column, you'll be more likely to charge. So I would give a bonus to this discipline test if you're in column, not the results, but the actual success of contact. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, let's keep going. Discipline test. Discipline test can be passed. If it's passed, they charge. If it's failed, they remain stationary and take a hit. I don't think I want to do that. Okay, this is saying they will take a hit and then they will shoot. So they failed to charge, but they'll still shoot. I think that should be, if they want to take a hit, they can shoot. What do you think? Okay. If it's passed, if the discipline test is passed, then the target unit must make a discipline test. Because they see bayonets coming. Okay. If they fail, they take a hit. I guess some people are like a little shaky and they're out of position for the fear of intimidation. Okay. If they pass, they gain no disruption and stand steadfast. Okay, here we go. If the target is infantry, not in a square, and they're charged by cavalry, they gain 3 hits instead of 1. That's if they fail. If they fail, they'll gain 3 hits instead of 1. That gives Cav like 3 hits automatic. Okay, I'm okay. So far, we're okay. I'm kind of digging most of that. Okay, all the brigade's charging units are moved before the melees are resolved. Okay, so they're saying that you don't do the melees until all the battalions are moved. Okay. If multiple units charge a single enemy unit, then the melee is resolved as one fight. Okay. Okay, you move your normal distance plus an extra d6. I'm not going to do that. I might just double it. Because a d6, if I rolled a 6, that's only 3 inches. Yeah, I don't even know if I want to do that. Get the extra move. I don't like adding disruption. A charging unit moves its normal movement plus... Okay, cavalry add 2d6. Oh, and they use the highest result, so they roll advantage. Okay. When charging, a unit can interpenetrate through another unit. During the charge, the unit can wheel 45 degrees. Costs half the unit's total movement distance to wield, determined after you roll the die. Could also echelon. If the charge reaches the target, then there will be a melee immediately after. This does not require another order. The melee is resolved as part of the charge. Okay. Countercharging. Okay. All that stuff, I can work all that out. I'm not really concerned about any of this so far. I want to know the dice rolls for the actual melee. Once the unit is moved into contact, the other side is one side is the attacker, the other side is defender. Doi. The defender rolls their melee attack first, representing the last gasp shots. Okay, so basically closing shots. The defender rolls the same number of dice as they do when they normally shoot. The number of dice is modified by the melee defense modifiers. It is possible for a defending unit to roll no dice. Okay, melee modifiers. I'm going to take a look at that. Okay, superior quality, superior position, heavy cav, infantry square versus cav, disorder. If it's in disorder, how do you get in disorder? I don't even know. I like having units in disorder. Okay, column of march, you don't want to be that. Extended line, square versus infantry, you don't want to be in that either. Shock impact. Okay. And those are all pluses and minuses to dice. Okay, I'm okay with that. Once the defender has a number of dice, roll them all to hit, with the defender hitting on their score given under melee in their stats, bayonets. Normally a 4. That's 50%. In melee, I'm okay with 50% because I think it's a 50-50 chance that man on man, you should get a hit. If you're low quality, you might get less, like a 5, and if you're high quality, you might get something even better. I don't know. This says if you're better quality, you get more dice. But then you also get better chances to hit, so you're getting double bonus. I don't like that. Okay. Attackers in melee. The attacker now rolls melee as their men close, all units engaged, melee. Number of stands, modified. Okay, this says an attack column gets a plus to melee. The attacker rolls a number of dice equal to its number of stands. This says units pushing forward and driving them gets the extra dice. Better troop, shock, rear attack, flank, disorder. Via escalade, so if you're climbing ladders. Okay, I get that. That should be a minus. Infantry and column of attack, 2 dice. This says sabers would get a 3+, whatever. Fortified buildings, lances. All units engaged now fight, each resolving their attacks individually, then adding them together for a final score. Okay, I'm okay with that. Yeah, the side that scored the most hits has won the melee. If both have scored the same number of hits, then the unit with the better troop quality has won. If they have the same troop quality, then the defender has won. Okay, hold on now. What are these hits aren't disruptions? Okay, keep a track of how many melee hits are scored. Okay. Both sides automatically take 1 point of disruption for being in a melee. Disruption is their actual hits. Due to men tiring. Both sides are also placed in disorder. Okay, the difference in the number of hits scored is the amount of extra disruption the loser takes. It's a little convoluted. I might have to read an example. Okay. The losing unit must make an immediate full withdrawal move. If there's multiple defenders, or if there's multiple units on the losing side, then the extra hits are spread evenly. Okay, so Okay, I'm a little confused because it sounds like you make a discipline test. If you fail, you take a point of disruption, right? And then infantry not in a square would take 3 instead. And then you fight the melee. And then you take, the loser takes the difference in disruption. But the attacker at that point would take no disruption. No, wait. Even the attacker takes one hit, right? Once all units in melee roll their attack. Okay. Yeah, both sides automatically take 1 disruption for being in a melee. Okay, so if you move forward and win, and you pass all your leadership tests, you'll take 1 damage, period. And then your opponent will take the difference. Well, the loser will take the difference, even if they pass. Okay. Then there's a chance to capture the colors. Yeah, that's just 1 extra rule that I'm not worried about. Withdrawing off the table, withdrawing into other units. I don't see where it says cavalry versus a square. Because I see infantry and column of attack, superior quality, cavalry shock, and then there's heavy shock, flank rear, cavalry versus infantry in disorder, cavalry versus attack column, disorder, fortified buildings, I don't like these modifiers. Yeah, there's no modifier for cavalry attacking a square. There is a modifier for defending not in a square versus cavalry. Wait, infantry square versus cavalry. If you're in square, you add 2 extra dice. Infantry in square versus infantry. Subtract 1 die. I'm okay with all that. Okay, these, I don't really like hardly any of these rules. Okay, that's why I'm writing my own. I love the idea of the shooting and the routing and the end phase. I wonder if there is something as in like an advanced rule or something about that. I also don't like the defender not ever being able to do... No, that's not true. The defender can actually do more. It can win, and making the attacker the loser, and the loser can take a lot of hits. I'm okay with that. But I think I'm just going to do hits versus hits and add dice and subtract dice. And maybe make the target number higher than 50%. I don't know. I got to put some thought into that. All right, well, that's the end of today. Thank you guys for coming out and checking this out. I'm going to spend some time, maybe this week, contemplating and trying to figure out how I want to do melees. All right, guys. Yeah. And I'm going to rewrite my movement order, shooting orders, because I don't want it to be shoot twice. I don't want that to exist. But I do want the move twice to exist. So I want infantry to be able to move 8 inches.